Daf Nun Ches Amud Aleph will begin Daf Nun Zayin Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. We suggested previously that when the Mishnah says that the kohen mixes together the dam of the parah, dam of the soyer, and he does the hazahs on the cross on the Koram Mizbeach, that it's not necessarily going dafka according to Rav Yashia. It could also be going according to Rav Nosson. There's a general machlokes between the two. When the Torah says 2 items and it's connected with a vav chibur. So, for instance, when the Torah says "V'lakach midam hapar umidam hasoyer," does that mean that it's together? Even though it doesn't say yachdav, it's treated as it says yachdav. That's what Rabbi Yashia says. We interpret it as means together, and therefore you have to mix the blood together. Or Rabbi Yonason says, even though there's a vav chibur, but it means independently, it means separately. But we said that the more suggested that perhaps the Mishnah could be going according to Rabbi Yonason, because over here the Torah says achas. The Torah says the keeper aron al karno isav achas v'shana, so therefore it implies that it has to be done together. But the Gemara says Tanya Doloi Kishindu. We see in the Brisa that it taught not like we suggested before. That's not the case, because it says v'lakach midam hapar midam hasoyer. The Torah says that the kohen takes from the blood of the parah and the blood of the soyer, shia mu'urovim, that they have to be mixed together, divrei Rabbi Yashia. That's what Rabbi Yashia says. Rabbi Yashia says they have to be mixed together. Rabbi Yonason, maza b'fnei asma, maza mizeh b'fnei asma. He says mizeh b'fnei asma, mizeh b'fnei asma. That no, it's not mixed together, it's done separate. Now, as we mentioned previously, that the Tais Rishonim, it says, and other Rishonim say that this is only talking about the dam of the kronos, on the corners, on the tir shel mizbeach, it was mixed together. But al kol panim, you see from this brisa that Rabbi Yonason says that no, it was not mixed together, it was with each one separately. So the brisa continues, he says, well, how can you say that it's not mixed together, that it's separate? The Torah says achas, which implies that it has to be done at the same time together. Rabbi Yonason says, but it says midam apar, midam hasoyer. And this is, according to my interpretation, Rabbi Yonason says, that means each one independently. Imkain loma nemar achas. So why does it say achas? Loimer lecho, to teach you achas v'lo shtayim midam apar, achas v'lo shtayim midam hasoyer. It's to teach you that you do one azol from each one, but not 2. You do one and not 2 from each one. We'll explain this in a moment. So, however, what comes out, and therefore the machlokes is over here in the way we understand it right now, is that really, and this is actually just different approaches and taisus, but one approach, and approaches that several Rishonim have, that lemaisa, the machlokes over here hinges on not whether we say it's when there's 2 items connected with the vav chibur, it means to imply that it's together or independently. It's how we interpret the word achas. Do we interpret achas means that it has to be mixed together, or it means not that it's mixed together, it means one hazah from the dam of the par and one hazah from the dam of the soyer. Now, what does it mean 1 and not 2? Why would we think it's 2? Why would we assume that it means 2? So what does that mean? So the way some of the Rishonim explain it, Rishonim and others, is as follows. Of course, if they're in a regular case, we wouldn't think that you do more than 1 hazah on each corner. There's nothing to indicate that we do more than that. However, the case in question over here is, let's say he had the dam of the par in the kli, and the dam of the soyer in the kli. Now, let's say it's spilled. So there's a machlokes tanoim. Let's say it spilled after he did some of the hazahs. He already did some of the hazahs, the dam spilled out. He has to bring another par, another sar, and bring new dam. Does he start from the beginning and repeat it and go from the beginning and do it all over again with the new dam, with the new blood, or does he just continue where he left off? According to this pshat, what we're saying now is, what Rabbi Yonason is saying now is that what it means is you only do one, meaning you pick up from where you left off. You don't go and start all over and start from the beginning, because that would be doing 2 hazahs on the corner. You already did one. The Rabbi Yonasan is saying that we start, it goes according to those Tanoim, that we pick up where you left off, and you do not repeat the Hazol. So it's only Achas. That's what he's teaching us. Tanida, we learned elsewhere, Velokach midama par midama soyer, sheyu murovim zebazeh, that it has to be mixed together. You're telling me that it has to be mixed together, or maybe it should be independently. Talmud loimer achas. It's achas, it says achas, ustama ki Rabbi Yeshia, and this stam is like Rabbi Yeshia, who says that from achas you learn that it has to be mixed together. The Mishnah continues as the Kohen Gadol puts the full bowl into the empty one. Boy, mini Rami Barcham Rav Chesed. The following shayla: Heniach mizrach b'toich mizrach. If the Kohen put one bowl inside another bowl, the kibel boy es adam, and he did the kabbalah adam mahu. What's the halach? Min b'mina chaytzis or ena chaytzis? Is it considered to be a chatzitza or is it not a chatzitza? The Torah says that v'lokach hakohen, that the Kabbalah has to be done, the Kohen has to receive the blood. So that means is that there can't be anything interposing between his hands, he does the Kabbalah, and the Kli Shoros that the dam is in. Now, if he has an inner Kli and an outer Kli, so he's holding the outer Kli. The dam, the blood, is in the inner Kli. Therefore, do we say that he's not considered to be lokach as adam? He's not holding the kli that actually contains the dam, that contains the blood. Is that considered to be a chatzitza, or is that not a chatzitza? Do we say that, well, he's not holding the kli that has the dam, or do we say, no, but it's min b'mina? It's one bowl in another bowl, it's the same min, and therefore it's considered to be as one, and it's not a chatzitza. So mao min b'mina chaytzes, the same type, the same kind of element. Is that a chatzitza or ain't a chaytzes, or is it not a chatzitza? Amar lei answered to Nisa, we learned in the Mishnah, he takes the full bowl and puts it into the empty one. My love, mizrach mole l'sech mizrach reikon. Doesn't that mean that he takes the mizrach, that the bowl that is mole, that is full with the blood, and he puts it into the empty bowl? So isn't that the very same case that we're talking about? And that's what the Kohen Gadol does. Where it says, no, that's not what it means. That's not what the Mishnah means. What our Mishnah means is, Isra, Era, Mizrak, Mole, L'Saif, Mizrak, Melkin. What it means is he pours the blood from the full bowl into the empty one. He has the bowl that has the mixture of the blood, the dam of the par, dam of the soyer. The one bowl has a mixture of it, then he pours it into the empty one. Frankly, more, but we learned earlier in the Mishnah, Era, dam, hapar, l'sech, dam, soyer, where he already poured the blood of the par, of the bowl, into the dam of the soyer. It's all already together in the same bowl, so why is there another pouring over here? More answers, K'dei larvin yafe yafe. No, even though he poured one into the other, they're mixed together, but he wants to make sure that they're thoroughly mixed. He wants to make sure that they're thoroughly mixed, and therefore he takes the blood that has, the bowl that has the blood, and pours it into the empty one, and now that mixes it thoroughly. So therefore we have a mixture that is completely mixed, and therefore you ensure and that the hazah is done with the blood of both of them. Since the Ritva says they don't mix easily, therefore we take this extra precaution and we empty into the, mix it, pour it into the empty bowl. But it has no bearing on our shaila. We're not talking about one bowl, the full bowl, into the empty bowl. Let's bring it right from the following. If the kohen was standing on top of a kli, or on the foot of somebody else, another kohen, it's possible. The avodah is psula. The kohen has to be on the floor. His feet have to be on the floor. There can't be any chatzitza, any interposing between his foot and the floor of the azor. If he's standing on a kli or on another kohen's foot, it's possible. Now, over here, we see that this is min b'minai. He's standing on somebody else's foot, and yet it's possible. Doesn't that show you that min b'minai is a chatzitza? Mar says, no, shiny regal, Even if we would say that min b'minai is not chaitzes, but you can't, not in a case where you're talking about somebody else's foot, not when you're talking about something that's not going to stay there, somebody else's foot, you can't be mevatel that. He has his foot, he'll move it away, and he's independent. He has his foot, can move away. It's not something that you can say that it's part of his own foot. Min b'mina, we would say, is not batal because it's considered one and the same. It's considered the same kind, it's considered the same thing. But a person's foot, another person's foot, is totally independent, and it's temporary over there. It's not permanent over there. That, it would be a chatzitza. Some say that this is the shaila that he had. Derech sheres bekach or ein derech sheres bekach. Is that considered derech sheres? Is that considered to be the normal way of doing an avodah or not? Meaning, the way Rabbeinu Hananel explains it is, according to this approach, min b'mina is not chaitzitz. It's not a chatzitza, so it's not a question of chatzitza. But the question is this the derech sheres? Is this derech avodah to put one kli into another kli? Perhaps that's not the way of doing the avodah. It's not a proper way of avodah. Tashma, the Tanat Rabbi Shmuel. Pasuk says, "Es kol klei hashoras asher yishar savam b'kodesh." It says the Levim should take all of the klei shoras that they use for the avodah. So it says klei hashoras in the plural, and it says asher yisharsu. So therefore, that implies shnei kelim b'shiras hachas. That implies that even two kelim would be considered sheirus, would be considered to be a normal avodah. So it says in the terms of sheirus of avodah. And it says Shnei Kelim, that means that Shnei Kelim could be considered to be Derech Sheirus. Let's say the Kohen put palm bast. So that's what grows around the trunk of the palm tree that it looks like a certain, like a material, like a canvas. So it's the palm bast that grows around the tree, and it's very porous. There's spaces, there's openings between them. So he's Mekabel as Adam, and he did the Kabbalah Saddam, so he put the sieve into the bowl, and then he was Mekabel Adam. So this is a min she'eino mina. This is the palm bast and the kli are two different types of minim. They're two different types of minim, of kinds. But what's the din over here? Min b'shein mina chaitzes, so ain't a chaitzes. Is the min b'mina chaitzes, or is it not chaitzes? Do we say over here that this is considered to be a chatzitza? Meaning, what's the pshat is? Do we say came the machal kelechayis? Do we say since the bast is porous, it's not machai, it's not a chatzitza? Or maybe there is no chelik, maybe there's no difference. So Rashi explains that as follows: that really we know that min b'shein aminai, in generally speaking, we say min b'shein aminai is a chatzitza. So therefore, in general terms, min b'shein aminai is a chatzitza, and this should be a chatzitza. However, even though we say min b'ein amin is chaitzes, but perhaps here where it's porous, it's not chaitzes. So that's the shaila. Or perhaps we say, no, there's no difference. It's min b'shein amina. Min b'shein amina generally is chaitzes, and this is chatzitza. Amrlei says, Tanina, we learned Lagabe, the waters of the Porah Duma. He pours it off, he draws off the water until he gets a sponge. Now, if there's a sponge in the kli, if there's a sponge in the kli, the water that's in the sponge is not kosher for the water for the mechatas. It has to be maim chaim el keli. The waters have to be directly into a kli, and then it has to be poured directly into the kli. So the water in the sponge is not kosher for the paraduma, for the waters of the to mix with the ashes of the paraduma. But what about the rest of the water in this container? Is this kosher? Or do you say, well, since there's a sponge on the bottom, then that's a chatzitza between the kli and the rest of the water. So it's not considered that the rest of the water is in the kli because there's a chatzitza. So what does it say? It says you draw off the water till you get close to the sponge. You don't get too close to the sponge, just the way the Rav explains it. You draw it off till you get close to the sponge to ensure you don't have the water of the sponge. and that water is kosher for the meichatos. So you see that the sponge, even though it's min b'sheinu mina, is not a chatzitza. So don't you see that because it's porous, a min b'mina is not chatzitza in that case? The Gemara says no, shiny mai, the klisha. You can't bring a rye from there because yes, that's true in that case, but that's talking about water, and water is very light. It's not thick like the blood. So water, yes, it's true in a porous substance. It's not considered a chatzitza, but maybe blood is. Maybe the blood in the kli is shores, and there's the bast over there. Maybe that would be a chatzitza. So it's not a raya. Some say this is how he resolved it. He said, Bidam kosher. Bidam, it would be kosher. That the bast in the bowl is not a chatzitza, but kaimet's possible. But if you're talking about the kaimet's of a mincha, the flour, that's not a liquid, that's a flour, that if there would be even something porous in the kli, that would be a chatzitza between the flour and the kli, it would be chaitzitz, and that would be possible.